Hey, welcome to .NET Rocks from the GrapeCity booth.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. We're here at Connections in the Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, right here at the very beginning, the very entrance to the exhibit hall.
Yep.
This is fun.
Oh,
They
yeah.
got big posters with our faces on them.
Yeah,
they're a bit scary, actually.
Yeah, so I'm
A
frightened.
bit?
My face is frightening
Okay,
me.
they're very scary.
Of
I was trying to be kind to you, but
Yeah. Of course, we're here with Dr. Neil Roodyn. It's been a while since you've been on our show. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, it has been a while, hasn't it? Probably
you
over
been?
A year. Oh, I've been doing real work,
Glad somebody is.
Good answer. Well, you guys made the rounds after. I guess it was after Build, or maybe it was even before Build. But you've been doing some great work with Connect and showing Surface, Connect, and Metro, and all this great stuff. Tell us about this video that is going around the internet that you're associated with, and then tell us about the project.
So the video is, I'm assuming you're talking about the seamless computing video, right?
Yes.
Which is where we have the scenario is an architectural company, and it was really designed around that scenario for an architectural company to be able to integrate all the devices that they have in a meeting room space.
Right.
And those devices might be things that come out of your pocket. They might be a phone. They might be something you're holding in your hand, like a slate device or a tablet. Or they might be the digital table or a projected wall or touch screens that are up on the walls as well.
But it's specific to a meeting space.
So yeah, we've really focused on how to enhance meeting room spaces and how to really enable a much more collaborative interaction between people in the space. So one of the things that we see a lot, and you probably see this when you walk into any large enterprise, you walk into a meeting, everyone flips open their laptops and disengages from the meeting.
Absolutely.
Right? And so our view is what we want to do is shut those laptop lids and get people engaging in a way in content that's either on the table, on the walls, in their devices that's relevant to the meeting.
Yeah.
That enables the meeting to go faster, enables more interaction in the meeting. The problem is in a lot of meetings they just turn into a presentation. Someone opens their laptops, plugs in the VGA cable, projects out a bunch of slides, starts talking. 10 minutes in, you're like, oh, I've got this email to do. I'll ignore him for a minute.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is say, we don't want a meeting to run that way. We want, if you're going to bring up a slide, bring up the slide deck on the table and let's have a conversation around it. And then, oh, I've got some images that I took on site yesterday on my phone. Let's flick those onto the table and see how they connect into that piece of the conversation.
People still bringing devices to the meeting, but then using the meeting room integrates with their devices to engage them more. We've done project planning and design meetings for applications using OneNote that way. We were projecting, but it was OneNote's ability to have two laptops associated with it, with a given document, so everybody can see the document.
You can do more than two. You can do a whole bunch.
Yeah, and everybody could actually contribute to the document. So we had but again, my problem was when the laptops were up, there's something about that screen there that was a problem.
Yeah.
And that's why I started using...
It's a physical barrier.
I started using those I'm the only guy. The tablets, the motion computing tablet, because I could lay it down.
Exactly
and
right.
That changes
really
the
social
important.
dynamics. It totally changes the social. I mean, Carl knows this. In fact, the first time I met Carl, I was working with the tablet PC team in Redmond, and the dynamics in a meeting room totally changes when instead of people having laptops that flip open, they have slate devices.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the slate device goes down. There's no physical barrier. I'm looking in your face.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the screen typing and then looking up occasionally to try and engage with you.
Well, even when you have to look down on the slate occasionally to make a note or write something down, and so forth. But
it's more open.
It's more open.
And
but
it's also what you're doing when you have that laptop open. Like I think what you said at the beginning, people are checking their email.
Yeah.
They're buying concert tickets. They're doing anything to just take them out of the meeting because what they're working on is not connected to what's being discussed.
And also they can't engage.
Right.
It's they hear this thing going on here, but there's nothing they can do about it, so they might as well just let themselves listen and carry on doing what they've got to do.
Right. It's ironic that it's especially
to actually engage.
It's ironic that it's especially the people who are bright, that have the most to contribute to a meeting, who get bored the easiest.
Right.
Who need that sort of engagement that you're talking about.
Exactly right. Yeah, and you need to be able to enable interaction for everyone.
Yeah.
And so one of our focuses over the last few years has really been what we call multi-user single screen. So we have these bigger and bigger screens available. You know,
right.
You get a 60-inch touchscreen with 40 points of touch on it.
Yeah.
People are putting them into meeting room spaces and then using them as projected screens. It's crazy. Let's use these things as something that actually you can get 5 people around actually doing stuff.
So it has to be the table.
It could be a table, or it could be a large interactive whiteboard type scenario.
Right.
But the table, as a piece of furniture, is a very social piece of furniture.
Yes.
We sit around a table to have a meeting. So making the table something that contains digital content is actually a really smart thing to do.
Right. That's a very profound thing. I mean, I'm a big believer in, and you use this line too. It's like, get some pizza, right? Like,
right.
We eat in front of in the table. You know, that whole experience part of it. So this collaborating on the table, I think, is core.
Especially when the meeting's going downhill. That's the time to bring in the pizza.
Yeah.
Right. And the beer, right?
Yeah, and the beer. So the thing that comes to mind as probably the barrier in this situation is, okay, everybody's got a tablet that we're working on. Now, what's preventing me from opening my email on the tablet? In other words, the software that we're running to get, let's just say that we don't have one screen. Let's say we have one screen, but we want to be able to contribute from our devices.
Right.
And a tablet with touch seems like a really good way to do that. So how do I get this? Do I get the software on the tablet, or that connects everybody? Or do you pass out tablets with stuff on it already when people walk into the room that they can use that doesn't have their email on it, that doesn't have all that other stuff?
People are doing different things. So we are working with a couple of companies that are actually setting up a meeting room spaces that have digital tables, interactive whiteboards, projected screens,
right,
and a set of tablets in the room that are connected to the content in the room.
Like it seems to me, and just to carry this further, that it would be great if I could just get the data off of my laptop rather than the pictures that are relevant. And guess what?
The data that's on your laptop, if you're in an enterprise, is probably stored on a server somewhere.
Right.
Right. So actually, it's quite easy. So
True.
for an enterprise solution, it's actually not a huge problem.
Yeah.
The other thing is so we do have a couple that are dedicating devices to a room. But the other thing is that within an enterprise scenario, we know those devices because they're on the network.
Right.
Because if you are working for Company X, you're going to bring your device in, you're going to get it on Company X network. You're not going to be totally disconnected.
Sure.
That would be crazy. So then you've got some relevance there. So we know, hey, Carl's walked in, Carl's on CorpNet. We know, your ID. We actually can see using vision systems. We can look at your device and see the asset tag on it. And that identifies it even further, right? So it goes, we can drill down and say, I know exactly what device it is now, right? So we can use tagging system because most corporates asset tag all their devices as they hand them out.
Right.
So tell us about the video that went around. And we have the context, but the construction, the real estate, all of that stuff was really fascinating to me. Tell us about the whole story.
What do you want to know?
Well, tell us walk us through what happens.
Okay, so in the video, we start off with a message received on the phone, which is received from another coworker about a property we're working on. And that property we've made some orders for some interior furnishings, and some of those orders are not available. And in the example, we're talking about door handles. The door handles are not available. So I put down the phone on my table, and it knows that it's my phone using a vision system, using asset tags, and it pulls out files relating to the conversation. So John, who has sent me the message on my phone, I put it down, I select him, and it pulls up on the table all the context relevant data to the stuff I'm doing with John. It knows it's my phone, and it knows that it's John, so there's some connections there that we're already making. I can flick through those documents and find one of the properties that I'm working on with him. I can pull up then floor plans of that property, and I can zoom into those floor plans. The next thing we do is we enable me to take a mobile device like a tablet with a bigger screen than a phone. And a phone is quite fiddly. You can't do things like floor plan manipulation and stuff like that on a phone screen. So I pull out a tablet and I put the tablet down on the table, and we do something called Magic Eye, which is we show a different layer of information. So we may see the base blueprint on the table, and we may see a furnished layer on the tablet. So as I move the tablet around, it's contextually smart enough to know where I am positioned on the blueprint, and then show me the furnished layer on the tablet screen.
It's like a magic magnifying glass.
Exactly right. Yeah, and actually some of that work came out of ideas that came out of MSR. So Bill Buxton's group
Microsoft Research.
Microsoft Research, yeah. So Bill Buxton's group's been doing stuff with Magic Eye and playing around with those kind of ideas for a while. And then we take the tablet, and if we wanted to then present something to people or do something in a larger room, like as a group, make some decisions, we can then take that information and project it up onto a big screen, so onto a projected screen or an interactive whiteboard.
Yeah.
And in this scenario, we're using Connect, because Connect enables us to then use gestures to manipulate that space. So I can move around using my arms, I can actually move around that space, I can enter a building by just using a gesture to open the doors of the building. Well, it's kind of like, move my hands apart and it will enter me into the building. And we're using voice as well. So, I think a lot of people think of Connect as really a pure, hand-waving, gesture-type exercise, but Connect's got this amazing mic array plugged in as well that really enhances the audio capabilities for us to get a rich enough input to do voice recognition. So I can say, show me the floor plan, and it will bring up an overlay of the floor plan, or hide the floor plan. I can ask it to take me to certain rooms. So if the rooms are tagged in the floor plan, I can say, take me to the lounge, take me to the master bedroom. And then it will, without me having to even work out how to navigate there, it will just take me to that space.
How good is that microphone array? Like, if
it's amazing.
More people talk. If multiple people are talking, is it going to be able to pick out the right person?
It's getting better.
Yeah.
Certainly in terms of being able, because the mic array knows where people are, based on the this is all on the software side, right? So the Connect itself is really just a set of sensors. So then it's what you do with that in your computer once you're receiving this stream of data.
Connect on the Xbox has all that great software behind it that we don't have on the PC, is what you're saying, I think.
We actually have the ability to do a lot of it on the PC. It's not out of the box, an experience that you just plug Connect in and suddenly you get a Connect experience on your PC. But there's an SDK that MSR released, Microsoft Research released a few months back, that really gives you the ability to switch all of those lights on. You can get all of that happening. You know where people are. If I had a Connect here, which I do actually, but I could, look at the three of us and I could say there's three people here. And then I can start taking some smart ideas as to maybe who's speaking. You may want to initialize a conversation with a certain keyword, and then you can focus in on that person. And so then you can say, okay, we'll try and ignore everything else. Now, of course, it gets hard when you've got a lot of background noise.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about voice noise. It's when there's noisy rooms.
That's actually quite easy to do.
It deals with that.
The hard thing is if you've got three people all trying to say something at the same time within the same area.
But that's hard for a person listening too, so that's only fair. But you're telling me the microphone, the gear is smart enough that once it's decided that you're speaking using the 3D camera to see it's you, there is some way the microphones shape themselves?
We can hone in on that, yeah.
Interesting.
It's cool. It's early stages. I think people are very excited about Connect. Connect is doing some amazing things, and certainly has been a very successful product for Microsoft. We have to remember it's version 1.
It's a year old. This week. This week it started shipping. So it's only been a year.
And actually, it's a year old in terms of Xbox Connect, but it's much younger than that in terms of what we can do with the SDK.
It was only in the spring.
So we were talking with Kathleen Dollard last night, and she was, sort of saying that she thinks, and she tends to put all her eggs in one basket. Everything else is irrelevant. This is what we're going to do. But I think she was just enthusiastic about the Connect.
That's great.
And in particular, when the resolution gets better so that I don't, so that it takes less time between my gesture and the recognition, number one, and also so that I have more fine detail as to where I'm touching, where I'm moving my hand. And I'm wondering about what kind of problem is that? Is that a computational problem? Is that a problem of not having enough processor cycles? Is it a software problem? What kind of... I don't know if you know the answer to this, but those are my questions.
So
it's all of those things.
There's lots of things you could do to make Connect more powerful. It would increase the price.
Right.
So you could put an image processing chip in the Connect device,
yeah,
right, and do local processing.
Yeah.
Turn up the resolution of the 3D camera. I mean, it seems like they really stripped it down to get it to that $150 price point.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it so successful in many ways, right? You know, for under $200, you're going and buying something that adds eyes and ears to your computer.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
You know?
And it still is one of the fastest selling gadget of all time.
Consumer device, right? Yeah.
So maybe we'll just naturally see sort of professional versions of that.
Well, there already are. I mean, there are much more high-priced, different technologies.
Connect.
They're not Connect, but they're similar, and they do depth sensing. And if you want to go and spend, $20,000, you can buy something produced out of one of the.
But can you buy something that's $500?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's I think is the problem is they got that price down so far, which I agree was a great thing for a consumer product.
Yeah.
But I think there's a market for a $500 device, and I don't know there is one.
Yeah. Knowing Microsoft, they probably knew this way before the light bulb went on over my head.
But I think the other thing is that remember that the Connect project is driven from Xbox. It's about gaming.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where it started in terms of, Project Natal being very focused on how do we enable the Xbox to have eyes and ears, and what can we do with that in terms of gaming.
Right.
And actually there's a lot of things you can do, a huge number of things you can do in that arena that doesn't require you have this enormous bandwidth, enormous processing power. You can do some fairly rough, coarse-grained gestures and speech recognition that works just great in that environment. And then people, of course, unbox it. All the geeks unbox it, plug it into their PC, and they're like, "Oh, what can I do with this? Oh, the resolution's not as good as I want in order to do finger manipulation, so I can control, the ins and outs of, rewiring a motherboard.
I want to do surgery remotely.
Right?
Connect. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're not there. Right?
The Surface adds an interesting layer to this. I mean, Connect is clearly this 10-foot experience model.
Right.
And that's the sensor as much as anything else. Yeah. I'm always fascinated, especially with Surface 2, which now price is getting better, size is getting better.
And you remember when we thought Surface 2 was so revolutionary, we couldn't even talk about it. Like, when this comes out, oh my, this all we got, and then Connect. It's like, what? Surface 2 is out? What? You've seen what?
But the two of them together seems really interesting. I mean, your video talks about that sort of seamless story of that the Surface has the role of associating other devices and providing a display there. But what's the relationship to it in the Connect in that?
And before you answer that, let's talk about Surface 2, because I think this is the first time we've talked about it on .NET Rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. For folks who have not heard there's a Surface 2, maybe you need to bring us up to speed.
Yeah, okay. Surface 2, 40-inch screen. The previous Surface 1 was a 30-inch screen. It's the previous Surface was 2 feet deep.
Yep.
Surface 2 is 4 inches deep. Okay. So it's a massive improvement in terms of technology.
Well, and as I understood, Surface 1 was that deep because they needed room for the cameras.
Right. There's a focal length issue in that we used in Surface 1, Microsoft really used traditional camera technologies.
Right.
Which need a focal depth. And also the screen was rear projected from a short throw projector, which needs a certain short throw is not that, short throw is that, right? Yeah. And so there needs to be a certain depth there. And in many ways, Surface 1 had a lot of great things going for it in terms of, it was a solid box.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, we put them into schools, into quite a few different schools around the world, and they're almost indestructible.
Yeah.
I mean, we had
they survived
seven
8-year-olds
jumping on them.
Yeah.
Right, and there's not many screens you can do that with. Right?
True.
And in fact, we had 2 out in Shanghai at World Expo, and I think they said something crazy like 1 million visitors every 2 weeks were touching those tables, and we didn't get a single support call. Not one.
That's great.
Never broke them.
It never broke. In fact, they shipped them back, and we unboxed them, switched them on, and they worked.
Wow.
So Surface 2 doesn't have cameras?
So Surface 2 doesn't have cameras. It uses a different technology called PixelSense, which has an array of sensors embedded into the screen. Mm-hmm. And so as you put your hand down or put an object down on the table, it collates all of that information from that array of sensors and then uses that to generate essentially a raw image that's very similar to the image we would have had with the cameras in the version 1 device.
Wow.
Yeah.
that to me is the most magical thing about a Surface 2. They had to invent a whole new technology to make this possible.
Yeah.
But it has the same capabilities as Surface 1. Like,
pretty much, yeah. It's a vision-based system again, and that's the trick. And that's, to answer your question, that's the connection that we make between all the Surface stuff we're doing and the Connect stuff. It's vision-based.
Yeah.
And in many ways, I think, everyone is talking about touch. Touch is the new touch, or whatever it is, right? Touch is the new black. Everyone's got to have a touch device. You've got to be able to swipe everything, and you've got to use pinch gesture. Touch, in many ways, I think, is the precursor to vision. Because once you have vision, you can take over you can do touch with vision. I can see someone's touching something.
Right.
But you can then go a whole step further. You can start recognizing objects. You can start doing things like facial recognition. You can go, oh, well, I know it's Carl touching this, or I know it's Richard touching this, right? And now we're starting to get somewhere. Now we're starting to get identification of who's doing the touch.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is. You think about that. That's actually massive. There's a number of scenarios that suddenly open up when I know I have a computer screen that's being interacted with by 3 people, and I know who those people are.
So what if I put on a full-length Richard suit?
Yeah. That one, you'll probably get it.
You can fool the machine.
I have a way with words, don't I? A full-length Richard suit.
You probably don't need the full length either. Just the face mask will do. Right?
Actually, it wouldn't fit into the full-length Richard suit.
Nice.
So, Carl.
Yeah, Richard.
You ever embed Excel into an application?
That's right up there with sticking ice picks in my ears.
Nice.
Because your end users have to have the right version of Office and all of that stuff, and it has that extra layer of dependency. What I want is just a way to take all that Excel goodness and plop it right into my .NET application.
Well, you reminded me of Farpoint Spread from the old days.
20 years ago,
I
used
kidding.
Farpoint Spread. But now, of course, it's GrapeCity PowerTools Spread. And now, they have this version that's both for ASP.NET and for Windows Forms in one package.
Nice.
It's 2 different controls, obviously, but it's one package. So
you bought one,
have to,
you bought the other.
That's right. Spread.NET from GrapeCity PowerTools.
Smarter components for smarter developers.
I love the idea of being able to flick off, do the flicking gesture off the Surface onto the upright screen, right? That sort of relationship movement.
Well, I think it's really about connecting all our devices together. It's nothing. It's nothing more than stuff we've been dreaming about and trying to do for years.
Right.
I remember really early days. I mean, this was pre the ease at which we set up a LAN nowadays. And I had 2 Commodore PET computers.
Yep.
2 Commodore what?
PETs.
Oh, PETs. Yeah.
One had 2K and one had 8K. That was kind of. There was no concept of networking.
Yeah.
No. We were lucky. We were lucky things ran.
Right. But I had this vision that why can't they talk to each other?
Right.
So I remember, getting out the soldering iron and building things to plug them together and actually getting signals going between them. And I built a little network. And people were like, "Why do you want to do that? What's the
big deal?
What are you doing now? What's the point in that?" But to me, it was the obvious thing. If I have a tape drive on one machine, I want to be able to read stuff on the other machine from that tape drive.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, in those days, the time it took to do was just crazy. You'd say, "Okay, start loading this document or whatever it was," and you'd go and have lunch and come back, and you might be halfway done.
So I want to jump back to the point we were talking about. You bring the device into the room, into that meeting room, and you need to know that device is in the room.
Right.
So are we basically talking about a Wi-Fi node that only covers that room, so that machine has to hop into this node?
Or near field?
Yeah, there's lots of ways of doing it. And in fact, the simplest way of doing it is actually using some kind of asset tag to know that the device is in the room by putting it down on a vision-based table.
Yeah. So if every device has this unique tag, and that's one of the things Surface did, is I don't know, there was thousands of combinations.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
And so once it can see that tag, it's sort of, okay, you're in this room with that machine.
Right.
That machine's already a part of my network, so now that I know which one it is, I know how to talk to it. Obviously, there's software on the device as well as software in the room.
Yeah, so there needs to be some software on the device. And that identifies, so you can send a message to the device, and the device wakes up and says, hey, okay, I'm on the table. What shall I do now?
Right.
We haven't really talked that much about RFID, but that's a pretty obvious identification.
Yeah, so there's RFID,
technology.
There's NFC, there's a whole bunch of technologies that you can use to do that as well. But mostly people want to go low-tech on this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to have to put an RFID tag on every single device.
Right. But if you have an asset tag, why not an RFID tag?
Yeah, it is a little bit more pricey. And if you're an enterprise that's shipping out 10,000 new phones each year or every 2 years or whatever, it does add up. And people are looking at reducing costs, not increasing costs.
Have you played around with augmented reality at all?
Yeah, a little bit. In fact, you see a tiny little piece of that in the video where you can see me standing in that space. So in that virtual space, I've got the tablet in my hand, but I'm standing on the big screen in that space in some kind of proportion, so I can get an idea of how I would fit into that space.
That's crazy.
And that's using Kinect again, because Kinect has got standard cameras as well as the IR camera, right? So we can pick up an image of me and place me into a virtual environment on the screen.
But you move yourself around the environment using the tablet.
You can, or you can use gestures.
Right.
So you can, move left, move right, enter into a space.
Right.
Yeah, but it's useful to be able to see yourself in the space, not just as if you're looking through your eyes.
Right.
But actually, seeing your body proportion.
Some
in the space.
context of how big am I next to the staircase, or how big am I next to the shelf? Did we make it so all the shelves are 3 foot off the floor or 20 foot off the floor?
Right.
Okay, so let's get into some meat of programming here for our developer audience. How difficult is it to walk up to a machine with Visual Studio and the Kinect SDK and dream up a gesture, and now I want Kinect to recognize it? What is the process for going through that? And is it something mere mortals can do, or do I have to be a math whiz? Do I have to be Mark Miller to figure out how to do this? Or
depends on your gesture. If your and I'm serious, because if your gesture is simply I need to track my left hand has a delta movement of a certain. That's actually quite easy, right? Because you're just looking, where does the left hand start when you start recognizing it, and where does it finish when you stop seeing it?
So it's a matter of recording endpoints?
Or recording pace as well, right? So you've got a speed that it's happening at. So you've got movement, so you can track all the joints of the body, and you can track, and you'll get an event every time they move.
Okay.
So you can say, oh, well, within this time frame, I've had this hand move this distance to the right or up or down. Now I will trigger a behavior.
Has anybody come up with a macro recording system so I could say, here's my event, start, and then move, and then and record that and match it against, in other words?
Not that I know of. Yeah. It's an interesting...
I can think of problems with that right away, but it would be...
It's an interesting idea, for sure. But, I mean, you can get much more complicated gestures, and that's when you start to need to get smart with maths. I mean, if you want to say, did a person draw a circle in the air?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to need to recognize that as a shape, and then say, was it a circle or was it, a line?
And what's your margin of error?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and not everybody's circle's the same. Heck, your own circle won't be the same.
And that's where you really have to get into calculus and all that stuff.
That's where you start getting small image processing required. Yeah. Well, and there are some people who have done some stuff. There's some libraries up on CodePlex that start down this path of doing this. So there's some gesture libraries that people have started putting together.
Get back to that
libraries.
Yeah, get back to that augmented reality idea. The idea that I could lasso an object in space.
Right.
And then now that's what I pick up. I mean, those are complicated gestures that then equate to complicated events inside the app.
Right. Well, you have to then know, certainly if you're in a 3D space, but even in a 2D space, what is it that's behind this gesture that I'm making? Right. And then what am I interacting with? And, there's simple things you can do, like my hand is over a button for 20 seconds, therefore the button is pushed. And you see that a lot, like Kinect for Xbox has that kind of hold gesture.
Right.
That then you see the little circle go around and it's considered a push in many ways, or a tap of the screen.
Yeah.
Because an actual push is hard to capture?
It's actually not that hard to capture, but there's
an issue. Extrapolation, right?
Right. Well, you could... we get the Z, so we know we have depth.
We know you pushed your hand forward.
We know you pushed your hand forward, but it's how much.
Right.
And at what point does this make sense? Like, we've done quite a few experiments. In fact, in my session this afternoon, I'm going to talk about a bunch of those. As to, what makes sense. Is my hand is this far from my head and moving towards the camera? Is it now a push or is it now a push?
Right.
And then if I see someone over there and I say, hey, oh shit, I pushed the button that blew everything
up. Right. So especially, and I've done some speech recognition development, and I know this is a problem as well. I actually wrote a speech recognition thing for my car, and because here's the problem in the car. Everybody knows that you can do it, so now everybody's shouting out commands and trying to confuse it. So I basically took a little mouse and Velcroed it to the middle of my car, so it's only listening when I'm pushing down on the mouse.
Right.
Oh, nice.
So you can think about ways in which to do that. You have a sort of a master trigger which allows everything else. Maybe it's a foot pedal. Maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is that don't think about, and again, I'm going to talk more about this in my session this afternoon, but don't think about Connect as a single entity.
Yeah.
Don't think about Surface as a single entity. Don't think about phone as a single entity.
Right.
There's too many people just building an app that's just for phone.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got to think about how it fits into the whole ecosystem of devices and things that people have in their pockets, in their bags, in their home, on their desk, in their kitchen, in their lounge area, in their meeting room spaces, whatever. And the range is huge and diversifying fast. I mean, it really, everyone says, oh, when are we going to get this situation where we just have one device? I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, I think we're going the other way.
We're totally going the
other
other
way.
way.
More and more devices.
Yeah. I don't know that you want to go to one device.
Yeah, why would you, right? I want my one device that I carry around with me to do all the things that I need to do when I'm walking around.
Right.
That's maybe where that impulse came from. But certainly, blowing the doors wide open is more fun,
Well, and I like the idea that when you take that device, typically a phone, when I get home, it attaches to my home network, and behaviors change. I'm in a different place now. There are different things I need to do.
To your home or whatever it is. It becomes contextually smart.
And what it really comes down to is I don't have to plug into iTunes to get my photos onto my PC.
Mesh, I worked with the Mesh team on some of this stuff. This was a dream that we had 3-4 years ago with Mesh, was to really enable a bunch of that. And I think we're starting to see more of it within the Windows 8 timeframe with some of the things we're seeing in terms of connectivity between devices and the SkyDrive being used as kind of your storage for everything. So that I'm taking pictures on my phone, they're in SkyDrive.
Right.
And then I get home and I bring up my media center. Well, of course it's connected to my SkyDrive account too, and there's all my photos.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing about, I walk into my house and suddenly my device connects and uploads everything. Why do you even need to walk into your house?
Right.
Why? I've got a connection here.
You got
Why
a
can't I just be uploading right now?
Right.
You obviously don't live in Canada where mobile data rates are worse than Rwanda.
They have mobile data in Canada?
Yes, they do. Just nobody can afford it.
You have to pay a certain number of beaver pelts every month to get that service.
Or blankets. 2 to 1. It's one of the issues is those kinds of things, and in different parts of the world. I mean, I pick on Canada because I'm there and I'm dying. It's hard living next to the U.S. with your unlimited data plans.
Yeah,
because we don't have them. Or what we do.
I don't think there's many left in the U.S. now either. Yeah. There's a few that are still left over that people have, but that seems to be reducing.
Well, there are houses for sale in New London. I can vouch for that.
Nice. Yeah.
But I mean, I agree with you. It's very easy to get lost in a very little enclosure. I was in the Bay Area last week talking to a number of tech companies who live in this little bubble. And it's not California.
Yeah. No.
It's not the USA.
No.
It's not the world. It's Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Right.
Where you can Twitter to order food. I mean, nowhere else in the world can you do that,
right?
And they're totally lost.
25 miles in any direction, it all goes away.
Right.
You're either in the ocean or you're in San Jose. I don't know which is worse. You're out of it. Right. But in that little area, it's working differently, and I think it's hard.
And I think Microsoft struggles with the same thing. You go to Redmond and you're in this little bubble. You're in the Redmond bubble,
right?
Where all this stuff seems to work and everything's connected.
Yeah.
And you drive an hour north and you say network and they look at you funny, it's like, what?
But, and I mean, you're largely in Australia. How connected are they?
Metropolitan areas, very connected. Yeah. And in fact, we've had a whole political...
The national broadband thing.
National broadband.
And it all goes through New Zealand, doesn't it?
Well, that's the undersea cable, but has national broadband actually happened?
You know what? I really don't know. It's got so confusing now.
Right.
I have no idea.
Nobody really knows where it's at anymore.
But I mean, essentially, that's about connecting people that are outside the metropolitan areas to high-speed networks. Now, hopefully, the follow-on from that will be that high-speed networks will get distributed into the suburbs of metropolitan areas as well. But it's pretty good. I mean, I don't live right in Sydney in the town. I live, a little bit north. Obviously, I have an ADSL2 at home. I get a ferry into work. I get on the ferry. There's Wi-Fi on the ferry. Yeah. It's free Wi-Fi. It's part of the public transport system. I get, I maybe have 10 minutes getting to the ferry and 10 minutes getting from the ferry to my workplace that I'm not Wi-Fi connected.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's pretty connected.
And the answer seems to be we're just going to have connections everywhere. Yeah. And our devices are going to seamlessly hop from one connection to the other.
Yeah, and we're already doing that in many ways in these little bubbles, right? So, in the bubble of Sydney that I live in, I'm getting some of this. In the bubble of Redmond that a bunch of Microsoft people live in, they're getting some of this.
Yeah.
In the bubble of the Bay Area and Palo Alto, Mountain View, they're getting some of this. And this stuff will slowly spread out. Yeah. A lot of it's about pricing, let's face it. It's about pricing and distribution.
Well, and reality is, like a Wi-Fi chipset and a basic processor stuff, they're getting pretty darn cheap.
Right.
I really do want my dishwasher to have an IP address.
Well, I just saw Nokia is sponsoring Wi-Fi across London or central area of London or something. I mean, for the games, that's awesome. I mean, and that's free. No, you just switch on. Boom,
there it is.
I want to get us back to this idea of connected multiple devices. And one of them is a system, again, I like to credit Scott Hanselman for showing me all these cool things, because he seems to find them before anybody else does.
He's the king of toys.
Yeah. What is this technology that you can install on multiple computers and then just move your mouse from one computer to the other?
There's a few of those.
Yeah, from one screen.
Yeah, so Microsoft has one. I'm trying to remember what it's called. But internally, Microsoft has had it for a while. And it actually has been pushed out now. I can't remember what it's called.
All right, so you know what I'm talking about.
But you have a single mouse and keyboard, and then using software, you can move that mouse across different screens.
Exactly. And as soon as I'm over there, my keyboard is working on that.
There's been an open source version of that called Synergy 2.
That's what it is. Synergy.
For a long time.
That's the old one. I mean, Microsoft's got a newer one.
Right.
The old Synergy one, I used it across my machines, and it had its quirks, but it
worked. My question is, Kinect seems like an obvious way to do this with gestures instead of the mouse, just especially from picking up and moving objects and data from one machine to another.
Right.
An easy way to just bring all those machines into one place and have them just completely interact.
So in fact, one of the experiments I showed in this afternoon session is using Kinect to turn Kinect into a mouse. So I can use one of my hands and I can move my mouse around. The result from that experiment is that the standard Windows interface is not great for Kinect.
Yeah.
Right? Because the standard Windows interface is actually not great for touch either.
Yeah.
It's a mouse is incredibly fine-grained.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, the understanding that the person building the user interface has is that the user has incredible hand-to-eye coordination and a very steady hand.
Yeah.
You have this tiny box that's like 4 pixels by 4 pixels, and that's your close button.
Yeah.
Right?
Try hitting it with your finger.
Right. And our expectation is that you are good enough, you are skilled enough with this strange external device to get your little cursor over that and click a button at the same time. And believe it or not, there's a number of people who just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember watching my daughters learn it.
Right.
Because it's very counterintuitive, and especially that idea of don't look at your hand while you're moving it.
Right.
You've got to look at the screen for it to make sense.
Yeah.
It's a very odd metaphor that we've just forgotten that we had to learn it one time or another.
Well, yeah, and the interesting thing is definitely children, but older people too that have never used a computer.
Sure. Well,
and actually it gets harder because they don't have the capacity to learn that fast.
Right.
And also they may not have the steadiness of their hands.
Well, and you get back to your whole thing about actually pushing with the Kinect.
Right.
Holding your hand still
Yeah, it's tough.
And I think it's still easier than very precisely moving it a certain amount forward.
And in fact, it's one of the advantages Connect has of being coarse-grained. Because Connect is not fine-grained, then you start thinking, well, I better build my interfaces coarse-grained.
Right.
And if your interfaces are coarse-grained, then my hand can be doing this.
Be shaking.
And I'm fine.
Yeah.
Shaky.
Well, now we walked ourselves into Metro, haven't we? That's what Metro's all about?
Well,
Interesting.
and before we get there, my next question was: is WPF the platform for this? For doing Connect, for doing Touch, for doing Surface 2? Is there anything else that we should be looking at? Is Metro gonna take over that space?
Well, you can build Metro in WPF to answer the question the wrong way around. WPF is definitely a primary development tool for doing this. There's no doubt about that. Interestingly, for a number of things we're not doing WPF. So a lot of the stuff we show in the video is XNA or DirectX.
Got it.
And that's all around performance, and specifically for that scenario with 3D models of architectural buildings, 3D in WPF is not as fantastic as it could be.
Okay.
Whereas 3D, XNA, DirectX...
It's made for 3D.
It's a 3D rendering pipeline.
Right.
Switch it on. So, we've been using a lot of lower level gaming type technology.
It's more difficult code to write.
It's much more difficult.
But you get higher performance.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you hear about Tim Huckabee's adventures? Internology's adventures with Metro and Connect?
Yeah. So he's doing some clever tricks to pass Connect information through a socket as a service, basically running on desktop, to enable his WinRT layer to use Connect.
Right.
It's interesting. It's an experiment right now.
Right.
Whether or not that's going to be something that's shippable, we just don't know. Well,
we would hope.
I would think that when Metro finally comes to light, there'll be a Connect SDK.
That's what we hope. I mean, why wouldn't there be?
Why wouldn't there be?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. I really just don't know. Things don't always happen the way we want them to, and sometimes they take longer. I mean, there are different teams at Microsoft working on different things, right? So the Windows team is very focused on shipping Windows and WinRT. They're not focused on how do we enable this for Connect.
Right.
Good enough.
Now, there might be people there that do care about it. I just don't know.
But we get back to this whole thing that Gesture and Metro seem to go together pretty nicely.
They do. I think, having large-scale interfaces that are fairly simple, high contrast, and that's a lot of what we're doing, so you can clearly see them. It does work well for... I think there's some nomenclature issues with, what is Metro, because we talk about Metro on the phone, we talk about Metro on Windows 8, and actually what Metro really is just a set of design principles.
Right.
And so
what we're really talking about here is WinRT.
Or Metro-style apps is what they like to say.
Or the Metro-style apps, or the Windows runtime shell that's on Windows 8. And they're different things, and they mean different things to different people. I think, the pendulum swings one way and then the other. And right now what we're seeing is within Microsoft, the pendulum swinging right towards Metro, and everything's Metro. Do you remember when .NET came out? Everything was .NET, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
Windows was going to be Windows.NET.
COM is dead, right?
But every product, it was going to be Office.NET. It was going to be SharePoint.NET, right?
I know.
And we're just saying...
We tend to suck into the hype way too much.
Right, we're seeing the same thing with Metro, right? So everything's going to be Metro. The website is Metro. We've got Metro MSDN. We've got, Metro Windows. We've got Metro Phone. And it's like, the pendulum will swing back to some happy medium where we understand that it's a design principle and we can use it where it makes sense, and we won't use it for, manipulating Excel spreadsheets and graphs.
I think it just stands to illustrate the point that everybody who's into technology is waiting for that one thing. We're waiting for that pipeline to the spiritual nirvana of technology that answers all questions, that does all things, and that's what keeps Microsoft in business.
Yeah,
selling.
I think some people are. I think some people are hoping nothing ever changes again.
Right. I got it figured out. Leave me alone.
I just worked this bit out, right? I just got IUnknown working, right? Leave me alone.
There was nothing wrong with the 90s. Bring them back. Dr. Neil, this has been great. What's next for you? What are you going to be working on next?
So we're doing a few more Connect projects. We're actually quite closely engaged with the Connect team in Redmond now, doing some interesting things with them as well. What else are we doing? We're doing some other mobile developments, and we're doing more stuff about meeting room spaces. Yeah. So more focus on how we can help people integrate what they're doing in their meeting room space with all the devices they have in there.
Right.
So that it becomes a much more seamless experience and actually a more efficient experience for that meeting. Yeah. Meetings can happen faster with more results and more recording of what happened in the meeting if you use a little bit of smart software in that space.
Very good.
And you'll get the holo projector working too, right? Because that's the next piece that we're missing.
Yeah, the holo
That's
suite.
after Christmas.
Thanks, Dr. Neil.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Dr. Neil Roodyn, and we'll see you next time on .NET Rocks.